Begging for a small piece of bread for his starving granddaughter, the old man was turned away by the restaurant owner. A terrifying contempt from those around him was directed at the old man. But then something incredible happened to him. The rain poured heavily against the windows of the fancy, the Golden Table restaurant, filling the space with the scent of gourmet food and the quiet chatter of its wealthy guests. It was an ordinary evening for the regular diners until the entrance door suddenly swung open, grabbing everyone's attention. A frail, worn-out man, Henry, stumbled inside, holding the hand of his granddaughter Sophia, a small girl with messy hair and eyes filled with fear. His soggy clothes left wet footprints on the restaurant's shiny floor, standing in stark contrast to the elegance surrounding him. "Please," he whispered, his voice full of desperation as he approached the counter where the owner, Hamilton, stood, his expression growing increasingly stern. "My granddaughter needs something to eat. Anything. A bowl of soup, a piece of bread." Hamilton raised an eyebrow, folding his arms. "This isn't a place for handouts," he replied coldly. The room fell into an uneasy silence, and the diners observed the scene with a mix of discomfort and curiosity. "I'm not asking for charity," Henry continued, his voice shaky. "I'll pay when I can, but she needs food now." Hamilton leaned in, his eyes narrowing. "And how do I know you're not trying to pull one over on us? Look at yourself dressed like that. You shouldn't have come in here." Sophia clung to Henry's drenched coat, quietly sobbing. The sound of her distress echoed in the room, intensifying the tension. Some patrons turned away, unable to watch, while a few glanced with fleeting sympathy. "Please, sir," Henry pleaded, dropping to his knees. "I'll do anything to pay for a meal. Just don't send us away. She's all I have." Hamilton took a step back, visibly uncomfortable with the public plea. "You don't belong here," he stated bluntly. "Leave before I call security." Henry stayed kneeling for a moment, the cold from the floor creeping into his bones, desperation filling his eyes. Sophia, still shivering, held onto her grandfather tighter, seeking comfort. The restaurant, once lively with conversation, now sat in silence, only interrupted by the rain outside. Hamilton, standing behind the counter, watched them with an emotionless expression. To him, Henry and Sophia were nothing but an eyesore, a reminder of a reality he chose to ignore in his polished establishment. He cleared his throat, trying to shake off the growing discomfort. "I've already said," Hamilton repeated more firmly, "leave my restaurant. This place isn't for people like you." Slowly, Henry stood up, helping Sophia to her feet. His face was pale, his expression defeated. He knew pushing further would be pointless, but the hunger in his granddaughter's eyes was impossible to ignore. "Please, sir," he tried again, but Hamilton cut him off. "That's enough," Hamilton snapped, losing patience. He pointed firmly toward the door. "If you don't leave now, I'll have you escorted out." At that moment, Sophia broke into tears. Her small shoulders trembled as tears streamed down her dirt-stained face, her cries echoing through the room. Some patrons whispered among themselves. Others exchanged uneasy looks, but no one stepped in. One of the guests, a middle-aged man, whispered to his wife, "He's probably just trying to scam us. He'd spend any money he gets on something else." Hamilton overheard the remark and nodded slightly, as if confirming his own decision. But before he could say anything, a gentle yet firm voice spoke up from the middle of the room. "Enough." The voice belonged to a young waitress, Emily, who had been watching with growing concern. "This isn't right." Hamilton turned to Emily, irritation and surprise on his face. "Emily, this is none of your concern. Go back to the kitchen and do your job." "No, sir," Emily responded firmly, taking a step forward. "I can't just stand by and watch this," Emily insisted, her eyes fixed on Sophia. They're clearly struggling, and the little girl—" She glanced at Sophia, feeling a deep ache in her heart. "She needs help." Hamilton started to speak, but the words seemed to stick in his throat. He wasn't used to having his staff, especially a young woman like Emily, stand up to him. The room became even quieter as everyone waited for Hamilton's response. Sensing his hesitation, Emily pushed forward. "They're not asking for a handout, they just want a chance. Let me handle it, please." Henry looked at Emily, a flicker of hope appearing in his tired eyes. After a few moments, Hamilton sighed, clearly irritated, and waved a hand dismissively. "Do whatever you want," he said, his tone sharp, "but this changes nothing." Emily guided Sophia and Henry to a table tucked away in a quieter corner of the restaurant, away from the judgmental stares of the other guests. Sophia continued to cry softly, her large brown eyes wet with tears as she clung to Emily's hand, finding some sense of safety. "Sit down," Emily said gently, helping Sophia into a chair. "I'll bring you something to eat." Henry struggled to find the words, gratitude filling his eyes. He was drained, physically and emotionally, but the simple act of kindness lifted a weight off his shoulders. "I don't know how to thank you," he whispered, his voice full of emotion. "You didn't have to do this." Emily smiled warmly. "Sometimes we all need a little help. Wait here, I'll be right back." She hurried off to the kitchen while Henry glanced around, still feeling the weight of the stares. The atmosphere was tense, and the patrons whispered among themselves, caught between pity and disdain. In the kitchen, Emily asked the chef to prepare a bowl of hot soup and some bread. As she waited, she thought back to what she'd just witnessed. She knew she was risking her job by standing up to Hamilton, but she couldn't ignore the image of Sophia, hungry and frightened. That was more powerful than any fear of losing her position. Once the soup was ready, Emily rushed back to the table where Henry and Sophia sat. When she returned, she saw that Sophia had already fallen asleep, her head resting on the table, too tired to wait for the meal. "Here you go," Emily whispered, setting down the soup and bread in front of Henry. "Let her sleep a little. The food will be here when she wakes up." Henry looked at the food, tears welling up. "I don't know how I can ever repay you," he said, his voice choked with gratitude. "You've given us more than food. You've given us hope." Emily sat down across from him, her expression compassionate. "Sometimes a small act of kindness is all it takes to remind us that we're not alone," she said. "Tell me what's going on. Maybe I can help in another way." Henry took a deep breath, holding Sophia's small hand as he explained. He shared how he lost his job, how each day had become a battle to find shelter and food, and how Sophia was the only thing keeping him going. Emily listened carefully, her heart breaking with every word. "We're not beggars," Henry said, holding back tears. "We just want a chance to start over." Emily felt determination rising within her. "You'll get that chance," she promised. "I'll do everything I can to help." Their conversation was cut short as the kitchen door creaked open, and Hamilton appeared, his expression firm as he observed them. Though he said nothing, the tension was palpable. Emily knew she'd have to face the consequences of her actions, but she was prepared. Looking at Sophia, she thought, "She's just a child. I can't let the world take everything from her." Henry squeezed Emily's hand, his eyes full of gratitude. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice heavy with emotion. Emily slowly stood, feeling Hamilton's cold gaze on her. She knew there would be consequences for what she had done, but a part of her refused to back down. Sophia was still asleep, her little hand gripping Henry's coat. He was trying to steady himself, emotionally drained after sharing their story. "Henry," Emily said softly, her voice steady, "I'm going to talk to Hamilton. Maybe we can find a way to help you and Sophia." Henry nodded, exhaustion evident on his face, but a glimmer of hope still present. "Thank you, Emily. You've done so much for us already. I don't know how I'll ever repay you." Emily smiled reassuringly. "Don't worry about that now. All that matters is that Sophia is safe and fed. I'll be back soon." She walked back toward the kitchen, where Hamilton was waiting, arms crossed, his expression stern. Emily knew she would need to choose her words carefully. "Sir," Emily began, maintaining a respectful tone, "I know I went against your orders, but I couldn't turn a blind eye to that little girl's situation. They're in a desperate place and really need our help. We can't just send them back out into the storm with nothing." Hamilton sighed, running a hand through his grey hair. "You don't understand, Emily. This is a high-end restaurant, one that caters to an exclusive clientele. If we start helping every person who comes in asking for assistance, we'll lose our regular customers. We can't afford that." Emily held her ground, looking Hamilton directly in the eyes. "I understand your point, but I think there's another way. What if we give Henry a job here? He could work in the kitchen, clean up, or do whatever is needed. In exchange, he and his granddaughter could have meals and a place to stay until they can get back on their feet. It wouldn't be a handout, just a fair trade." Hamilton paused, clearly surprised by her proposal. His eyes shifted from Emily to the kitchen door where Henry and Sophia sat. "But what if he's not reliable? What if this backfires and impacts our business?" Emily took a deep breath, sensing this was her chance to sway him. "I believe everyone deserves a second chance, sir. And honestly, I don't think they're lying. The little girl, Sophia, she's barely holding herself up. If there's a way to help, we should try. And if things don't work out, I'll take responsibility." Hamilton hesitated, his face showing an internal struggle. He had always run his restaurant with a strict business-first mentality, but something in Emily's sincerity seemed to reach him. "Fine," he said at last, his tone softer. "We'll give it a try. If Henry proves himself, we might find a solution. But remember, any trouble this causes will be on you." Emily felt a wave of relief and nodded gratefully. "Thank you, sir. I promise you won't regret this." She quickly returned to where Henry and Sophia were seated. Henry looked up, clearly anxious. "What did he say?" he asked. Emily smiled warmly. "I managed to convince Hamilton. He's willing to give you a chance to work here. You'll receive meals and a place to stay, but it's on a trial basis, so you'll need to do your best." Henry was silent for a moment, absorbing her words. Tears filled his eyes and he whispered, "I don't know how to thank you, Emily. I'll work hard, I promise." Emily placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "I believe you. Now, get some rest and take care of Sophia. Tomorrow's a new day." Henry nodded, feeling the weight on his shoulders lift. For the first time in a long while, he felt a glimmer of hope. He glanced at Sophia, still peacefully asleep, and whispered, "It's going to be okay, my dear. Everything's going to be okay." The next morning, the sun peeked over the horizon, casting a warm glow over the Golden Table restaurant. Henry and Sophia were seated at a corner table, enjoying a simple breakfast that felt like a feast after so many days of hunger. Though still a bit groggy, Sophia's smile brought a warmth to Henry's heart he hadn't felt in ages. Emily watched them from a distance, feeling both satisfaction and nervousness. She knew this was just the first step, and that the real test would begin when Henry started his work. Hamilton remained distant, keeping a close, critical eye on the situation. The restaurant soon filled with its usual crowd, and the atmosphere returned to its usual lively pace. Emily approached Henry with an encouraging smile. "Ready to start?" she asked, masking her own apprehension. Henry nodded firmly, rising to his feet. "I'm ready. I'll do whatever it takes. She led him to the kitchen, where Hamilton waited, his expression stern as he assessed Henry from head to toe. "All right," he said with a no-nonsense tone. "You'll start by cleaning tables and then move to kitchen duties. I expect to see effort and commitment. If not, this will be your first and last opportunity." Henry nodded eagerly. "You can count on me, sir. I'll give it my best." Henry dove into his tasks with a determination that even surprised Emily. He meticulously cleaned tables, handled dishes in the kitchen, and responded promptly to every request, all while keeping an eye on Sophia, who quietly played in a safe corner, watched over by Emily. Yet, not everyone in the restaurant welcomed his presence. Some patrons murmured among themselves, questioning the situation. "He's probably taking advantage of her kindness," one customer whispered to another. "Let's see how long he lasts." Emily overheard some of these comments and noticed that they were affecting Henry. He kept his head down, working hard, but the whispers and stares weighed on him. The tension in the air was palpable, and Hamilton, too, noticed the shift in the atmosphere. As lunchtime ended, Hamilton approached Henry, who was wiping down one of the tables. "Henry," he began, his tone firm but curious, "you've been working hard, but some of our customers aren't comfortable with your presence. We need to address this." Henry paused, feeling a shiver of anxiety. He knew this moment would come, but had hoped for more time to prove himself. "Sir, I just want to show I can be useful. I don't want to be a burden," he said, trying to stay calm. Hamilton's expression remained unreadable, but before he could respond, Emily stepped in. "Sir," she said, standing beside Henry, "I understand the customer's concerns, but maybe if Henry took on a more visible role, it would show he's contributing. If the guests see his dedication, they might be more accepting." Hamilton considered her suggestion, his expression thoughtful. If he shows he's committed, it could help, but it's up to him to prove it. Henry felt a renewed sense of determination. "I'll do whatever it takes, sir. Just tell me what needs to be done." Hamilton nodded, his tone slightly less harsh. "All right. Emily, you'll show him the ropes for some of the more visible tasks. Let's see if this works." Emily smiled, encouraging Henry. "We'll figure this out together," she said. And for the first time, Henry felt he was beginning to earn his place. As Henry and Emily began implementing the new plan, the restaurant's atmosphere started to shift. Henry took on more visible responsibilities, serving customers, efficiently cleaning tables, and even assisting with simple meal preparations. Every action he took was careful and sincere, showing his gratitude and commitment to contributing. Sophia, meanwhile, became a charming presence in the restaurant. Her cheeks now held a healthier glow, and she spent her time coloring and playing with the sheets of paper Emily gave her. Her shy laughter added a touch of warmth to the space. Still, some customers remained skeptical. The whispers hadn't completely died down, and Hamilton noticed the lingering tension. One afternoon, while Henry was cleaning a table near the entrance, an elderly woman entered. She walked slowly, leaning on a cane, and her eyes scanned the room as if searching for something. Henry immediately stepped forward, offering his hand to help her. "Can I assist you, ma'am?" he asked, his tone respectful. The elderly woman paused, meeting his eyes with a warm, almost maternal gaze. "Yes, young man. I just need a place to rest for a while. The streets are so busy today." Henry guided her to a table by the window, pulling out the chair to ensure she was comfortable. "I'll bring you a glass of water," he said before heading to the kitchen. While Henry prepared the water, the woman's eyes drifted to Sophia, who was quietly playing in the corner, a look of curiosity crossing her face. When Henry returned, she asked, "Is that little girl your daughter?" Henry offered a small smile as he set the water in front of her. "No, ma'am. She's my granddaughter, Sophia. We've been struggling, but Hamilton was kind enough to give us a chance here." The woman nodded thoughtfully, her eyes softening. She took a sip of water, then said, "You know, young man, kindness is a rare currency. But when you share it, it often comes back to you many times over." Before Henry could respond, she stood up slowly, making her way to the counter where Hamilton stood. "Sir," she began, her voice gentle but firm, "I'd like to cover this little girl's meal today, and I also have a toy in my car, something I bought for my own granddaughter that I'd love to give to her. I think she'd appreciate it even more." Hamilton, caught off guard, nodded respectfully. "Of course, ma'am. It would be our pleasure." With Henry's help, the woman exited the restaurant to retrieve the toy. When she returned, Sophia was sitting next to Emily, about to eat her bowl of soup. The elderly woman approached and handed her the gift, a doll in a bright blue dress. Sophia's eyes widened in amazement as she accepted the gift. "This is for you, sweetheart," the woman said, gently stroking Sophia's cheek. "I hope it brings you lots of joy." Sophia held the doll tightly, as if it were the most precious thing she had ever received. "Thank you, Mom," she whispered, her eyes sparkling with emotion. The touching moment didn't go unnoticed by the other patrons in the restaurant. Moved by the gesture, they began to approach, offering their own acts of kindness. One customer discreetly left an extra tip, whispering to Emily, "Let this go towards helping the little girl." Another left a bag of clothes by the entrance, asking for it to be given to Henry and Sophia. Hamilton observed everything from his spot at the counter, feeling an unfamiliar warmth in his chest. The shift in the restaurant's atmosphere, the patrons coming together, their changed attitude toward Henry and Sophia, was unlike anything he had seen before. Emily noticed Hamilton's reflective expression and approached him. "Sir, it seems like things are changing," she said gently. Hamilton continued to watch, seeing the newfound camaraderie among his customers. "Yes, Emily," he replied, a hint of admiration in his voice. "Maybe kindness really is contagious." Henry glanced around, overwhelmed by the outpouring of support and the generosity of the customers. For the first time in years, he felt a sense of community and hope. Tears welled up in his eyes as Sophia, still clutching her new doll, ran over and hugged him tightly. "We're okay now, Grandpa," she whispered, and Henry knew that they had finally found a place where they could begin anew. In the days that followed, the spirit of kindness continued to ripple through the golden table. The restaurant gradually became a beacon of compassion in the small town, its reputation shifting from a place of exclusivity to one known for its welcoming, generous heart. Henry continued to work tirelessly, and over time, he gained the trust of many customers who had initially been wary of him. Sophia, always accompanied by her doll, quickly became a beloved figure in the restaurant, charming everyone with her shy, sweet smile. Despite this, Hamilton remained undecided. He watched from afar, noting how both Henry and Sophia had become a part of the restaurant's daily rhythm. Still, the burden of responsibility weighed heavily on him. Offering them a permanent place would mean risking the success and reputation of the golden table. What if things didn't turn out as hoped? One morning, while Hamilton was in his office reviewing the books, Emily knocked softly on the door. "Sir," she said, as she entered cautiously, "I'd like to speak with you about Henry." Hamilton glanced up, his expression still guarded. "Yes, Emily. What's on your mind?" Emily took a seat in front of his desk, her face serious. "I understand your hesitation, sir, but I truly believe Henry has proven himself. He works hard, never complains, and takes on every task we give him. But more than that, he's brought something intangible to this place, a sense of community, of belonging." Hamilton paused, closing the books and folding his hands on the desk. I recognize that, Emily. But hiring him permanently is a big decision. I don't want to jeopardize everything we've built here. What if he can't keep up? What if our customers start to complain again? Emily leaned forward, her expression earnest. I know you're a businessman, and you understand the risks. But sometimes, it's not just about business. It's about doing what's right. Henry and Sophia have added something valuable here. They've given this place a sense of warmth and new energy. Our customers can feel it, and I truly believe that if we give them a proper chance, we'll see more positives than negatives. Hamilton was quiet, contemplating Emily's words. Deep down, he knew she was right. Ever since Henry and Sophia had arrived, the atmosphere in the restaurant had shifted, becoming livelier, more engaging. Even he, who had always prided himself on his detached professionalism, felt that something within him had softened. At last he stood, moving to the window to gaze out at the bustling street below. You're right, Emily. Maybe it's time for a change. I'll speak with Henry. Emily's face brightened with relief. Thank you, sir. This will mean the world to them. Later that day, Hamilton called Henry into his office. Henry entered, nerves clear on his face, uncertain of what the conversation would bring. Though he had worked hard, he knew his position was still fragile. Henry, Hamilton began, his tone steady but serious. I've been watching you closely these past few days. I can see that you're a dedicated man who's willing to put in the work. I also see that you've brought something valuable to this restaurant. Henry listened, trying to read the intention behind Hamilton's words. Sir, I'm grateful for the chance you've given me. I've done my best to show that I can be of help here. Hamilton nodded and continued. And you have shown that, which is why I've decided to offer you a permanent position here at the Golden Table. I want you and Sophia to stay. We'll ensure you have a secure place to live and food on the table every day. Henry felt as if the ground had shifted beneath his feet. Hamilton's words echoed in his mind, almost too good to be true. Sir, I don't know how to thank you. This means everything to us. His voice shook, and he fought to hold back the tears that welled up in his eyes. Hamilton gave a small, genuine smile, a rare sight. Thank me with your work, Henry. Keep doing what you've been doing, and I'm confident things will work out. We'll make this succeed together. Unable to hold back any longer, tears streamed down Henry's face. He extended his hand, and Hamilton took it, giving a firm handshake. Thank you, sir. Truly, thank you. Hamilton nodded once more before adopting his usual professional tone. Now get back to work. We still have a long day ahead. Henry left the office with a lighter heart, feeling as if a massive weight had been lifted off his shoulders. As he walked back into the dining area, he saw Emily waiting anxiously. The moment she saw the smile on his face, she knew. We did it, Henry whispered, unable to contain his excitement. He gave us a real chance. Emily hugged Henry tightly, sharing in his happiness. I knew he would do the right thing. Now, just keep showing him how much you deserve to be here. At that moment, Sophia ran up to Henry, clutching his hand. Grandpa, is everything going to be okay now? She asked, her eyes filled with hope. Henry looked down at her, his heart overflowing with love and relief. Yes, my dear. Now, everything will be okay. As the days passed, Henry became an integral part of the restaurant's daily routine. His hard work and commitment were noticed not only by Hamilton and Emily, but also by the regular customers. Sophia's presence was also viewed as a blessing. Her innocence and joyful spirit added a new, welcoming energy to the Golden Table, making it feel even more like a home. Henry began each morning early, well before Hamilton, to make sure everything was ready. He set up the tables, arranged the utensils, and by the time the first customers arrived, he was already at his station, ready to greet them with a smile. Meanwhile, Sophia spent her mornings drawing in her special corner, under Emily's watchful eye. Customers who had once viewed Henry with suspicion now greeted him with nods and smiles, appreciating the hard work and dedication he showed. Hamilton, noticing this shift in attitude, felt reassured about his decision to keep Henry at the restaurant. One morning, while Henry was wiping down tables after breakfast, a regular customer, Senor Rodriguez, an elderly man known for his reserved demeanor, approached him. "Good morning, Henry," he said, his tone kind but firm. Henry paused, returning the smile. "Good morning, sir. How can I help you?" Mr. Miller studied Henry with a mix of respect and curiosity. "I've been watching you, Henry. You're a hard-working man, and I want you to know that I appreciate the effort you're putting in here." Henry was taken aback by the unexpected compliment. "Thank you, sir. I'm just doing my best to repay the opportunity I've been given." Mr. Miller nodded approvingly, clearly satisfied. "You're doing a fine job. Keep it up, and you'll find that the people here will start seeing you as part of the family." The words touched Henry deeply. Though he knew there was still a long way to go to truly feel like he belonged, hearing this from a respected patron like Mr. Miller was a sign he was moving in the right direction. Later that day, while Henry was helping out in the kitchen, Emily approached him, her face lit up with a smile. "You're doing great, Henry," she said. "Even Hamilton mentioned how much the place has improved since you started." Henry smiled, feeling a wave of relief and gratitude. "I'm glad to hear that, Emily. I really want to be a part of this place, not just for the job, but because I feel this could be our home." Emily nodded, touched by his words. "And it is, Henry. You and Sophia are part of our family now. Everyone here sees that." Just then, Sophia ran over with one of her drawings in hand. "Look, Grandpa, I drew us at the park." Henry took the drawing, his heart swelling with emotion. "It's beautiful, my dear. One day, we'll go to the park for a real picnic, okay?" Sophia beamed, and Emily felt a lump in her throat as she watched the happiness in the little girl's eyes. It seemed as though all the fear and uncertainty that had once shadowed her face were slowly being replaced by pure childhood joy. Just as it should be. But as Henry and Sophia settled into their routine, there were still hurdles to face. Some of the restaurant's longtime patrons remained resistant to their presence. They avoided speaking to Henry and occasionally made unpleasant remarks, a reminder that not everyone was ready to fully accept them yet. One busy afternoon, while the restaurant buzzed with activity, Henry overheard a comment. A young customer, annoyed by Sophia playing in the kitchen, muttered to his companion, "Is this place turning into an orphanage now? This is supposed to be a high-class restaurant, not a shelter." Henry felt a pang in his chest, but before he could respond, Emily stepped in. "Here, we believe in helping those in need. Sophia and Henry are part of our family now. If that's an issue, perhaps you should reconsider where you'd like to dine." The customer flushed with embarrassment, muttered something, and turned his attention back to his meal. Henry glanced at Emily with gratitude, but also with a renewed sense of worry. Despite all the progress they'd made, he knew he'd still have to prove himself time and time again. But as he looked at Sophia, happily playing and blissfully unaware of the harsh comments, he knew that every struggle was worth it. His resolve to create a better future for her only strengthened. Weeks turned into months, and Henry became a steady presence at the golden table. His hard work and cheerful attitude earned him respect from everyone. Sophia's presence continued to brighten the restaurant, and her bond with Emily and the other staff members grew stronger by the day. Hamilton, who had once been cautious, now saw Henry as an essential member of his team. The owner's once rigid demeanor had softened, He had come to appreciate not only Henry's work ethic, but also the sense of community and humanity he brought to the restaurant. One afternoon, after the lunch rush, Hamilton called Henry into his office. Henry, always respectful, entered with the familiar feeling that every conversation with Hamilton was a test. But this time, there was something different about the owner's expression. "Henry," Hamilton began, sitting behind his desk, "I've been reflecting on everything that's happened since you and Sophia arrived. I want you to know that you've proven your worth in ways I hadn't anticipated." Henry felt gratitude and relief, but remained silent, waiting for Hamilton to continue. "I've noticed how the customers have come to respect you and how you've changed the atmosphere of this place for the better. It's time we discuss your future here, not just as a temporary worker, but as part of the restaurant's family." Hamilton's tone was serious, underscoring the importance of his words. Henry could hardly believe what he was hearing. "Sir, I don't know how to express my gratitude. I just want to keep giving my best to repay everything you've done for me and Sophia." Hamilton offered a rare, genuine smile. "I want you to stay here, Henry, but in a more stable role. I'm offering you a formal employment contract with a proper salary, and more importantly, a permanent place for you and Sophia to live. I know staying in the back of the restaurant has only been a temporary fix. I want you to have a real home." Henry stood there, absorbing the enormity of what Hamilton had said. Tears welled up in his eyes. "A real home," he repeated, his voice choked with emotion. "Sir, I can't thank you enough for this opportunity. I promise to keep giving my best every single day." Hamilton nodded, satisfied. "I know you will, Henry. And I want you to know that everyone here, Emily, the rest of the staff, and even the customers, already see you and Sophia as part of the family. This place wouldn't be the same without you." Henry was overwhelmed with emotion. For so long, he and Sophia had lived with uncertainty, not knowing when or where they'd find their next place to call home. Now, they had stability, security, and above all, a sense of belonging. "Thank you, sir," Henry said, tears streaming down his face. "Thank you for everything." Hamilton stood and extended his hand. Henry shook it firmly. "You deserve it, Henry. Now go share the news with Sophia. I'm sure she'll be thrilled." Henry left the office, his heart light and filled with joy, almost unable to believe how his life had transformed. He found Sophia in her usual corner, drawing, and knelt down beside her. "Sophia," he said softly, "I have some exciting news." "Sophia," Henry began, his face lighting up with a warm smile, "I have some wonderful news for you." Sophia looked up, her eyes curious. "What is it, Grandpa?" she asked. Henry gently took her small hands in his. "We're going to have a real home, sweetie. A place just for us, where we can live without fear, without worrying about tomorrow." Sophia's eyes grew wide with surprise, and then her face lit up with a radiant smile. "Really, Grandpa? We're going to have our own house?" Henry nodded, his voice thick with emotion. "Yes, my love. A home where we can stay together, safe and happy." Sophia threw her arms around Henry, hugging him tightly. In that moment, he felt all the weight of their struggles lift. Finally, they had found a place to belong, a place where they could start fresh and build a new life together. As he embraced Sophia, Henry looked around the restaurant, his heart full of gratitude for all they had achieved. The sun shone brightly that morning, casting a golden light over the cozy new home that awaited them, a simple house with a small garden in front and a porch where they could relax in the afternoons. For Henry, who had long dreamed of giving his granddaughter a secure and stable life, this was the fulfillment of that dream. Sophia ran through the garden, her laughter echoing joyfully as she explored every nook and cranny. For her, everything was new and exciting, The flowers blooming in vibrant colors, the trees offering shade, and the simple feeling of having a place to truly call home. Henry watched her with a smile, his heart swelling with warmth at the sight of her happiness. Later that day, Hamilton and Emily visited to help them settle in. Emily brought a basket of fresh fruit and a potted plant as a gift, a symbol of growth and new beginnings. Hamilton carried a toolbox, ready to help with any repairs or adjustments that might be needed. "It looks like you two are settling in well," Emily said, watching Sophia run happily through the garden. "Yes," Henry replied, his voice filled with gratitude as he looked around. "I still can't believe we finally have a place like this. You and Hamilton have been amazing. I don't know how I'll ever repay you." Emily shook her head, smiling. "You've already repaid us, Henry. What you and Sophia have brought to the restaurant is more valuable than anything material. You've brought love, unity, and a sense of family. That's priceless." Hamilton, who had been fixing a few things in the kitchen, overheard their conversation. "It's true, Henry. When you first came to the golden table, I had no idea how much things would change. You brought a sense of community and purpose that was missing. You've made us all better." Henry nodded, touched by Hamilton's words. "It was the opportunity you gave us that made everything possible. I'll always be grateful." Sophia then ran over, tugging at Henry's hand. "Grandpa, come see. We have a tree in the garden. Can we make a swing?" Henry laughed, his heart light. "Of course, dear. We can definitely make a swing." Hamilton looked at the tree and smiled. "You know, Henry, I think I have some boards and rope that would work perfectly. Let's build that swing today." Together, Henry, Hamilton, and Emily worked on building the swing, while Sophia watched with eyes full of excitement. The work didn't take long, and soon the swing was ready. Sophia was the first to try it, her laughter filling the air as she swung back and forth, the wind brushing against her face. As Henry watched his granddaughter play, he felt a deep peace settle within him. Everything he had struggled for, and every hardship they had faced, had finally led to this moment. He had found a home, a safe place for Sophia, and friends who had become like family. "Emily, Hamilton," Henry said, turning to them. "I don't know how to express what this means to us. I don't know where we'd be if it weren't for you." Emily smiled, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You'll always have us, Henry. We're family now, and we'll always support each other, no matter what." Hamilton nodded in agreement. "You've found a home here, Henry, and there will always be a place for both of you at the golden table. This is just the beginning of a new chapter for you." As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Sophia called out to Henry to push her higher on the swing. He smiled, feeling the warmth of love and joy surrounding him. He joined his granddaughter, pushing the swing as her laughter filled the air. Emily and Hamilton stood by, watching with satisfaction and emotion, moved by how far Henry and Sophia had come. As the day faded into night, Henry and Sophia finally found the peace and security they had long yearned for. They had overcome the hardships of the past, forged new friendships, and most importantly, found a place to call home. The golden table would always hold a special place in their hearts, a symbol of hope, love, and second chances. Henry knew the journey would continue, but for the first time in a long while, he felt prepared to face the future with confidence and gratitude. With the support of his new family, he and Sophia were ready to tackle whatever challenges life might bring their way.